Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Come to Papa. I am Tom Papa, and I am talking to you today from Las Vegas. I flew here yesterday, and by complete chance, I boarded the plane in Miami, stored my bag in the overhead, sit down, and next to me is the one and only Brian Regan. Our plane was delayed due to a broken wing, and it was delayed for 2 hours, and we just yapped for 2 hours straight. Everyone else was really pissed off, but we were just laughing and having the best time. And in that time, I was able to swindle an invitation to Brian's home for this interview. Brian is simply one of the funniest comedians on the planet. I am a huge fan of his, because every time I watch him, I just fall out laughing. And that's the experience that everybody has with Brian. You just laugh. And that's the whole key to comedy. There's really nothing more to it. Now, Mr. Brian Regan, you came home last night. You had a tour of a little swing in the Northeast. You did several theaters. Mm-hmm. Then you went to your high school down the Miami area, where they inducted you into the Hall of Fame. And I know that you're happy to be home and see your kids and be back and unpack the bags. But how much happier are you that at 8:30 in the morning I am on your couch?
Well, first of all, I want to say this is an unusual interviewing technique. Do you always have your guests sit on your lap?
Well, I feel we bonded so much on the plane.
I mean, I don't have a problem with it. It's just I've never done it. This is a first for me.
Well, I just feel it opens things up.
Okay, very good.
What those things are?
We'll see. We'll find out very shortly.
Yeah. Thanks for having me in your home.
Absolutely.
You live in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
You've been in Las Vegas a long time.
I've been out here about 7 or 8 years. I lived in L.A. prior to this.
Okay.
New York prior to that.
Right.
Ohio prior to that.
Ohio?
I went to college in Ohio.
Oh.
And then Miami prior to that.
Actually, in Miami? Is that where you grew up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My mom and dad went down there for their honeymoon from Pennsylvania and New York.
Right.
They got married up there. They went down to Miami, liked it, and decided to have a bunch of kids and raise us all down there.
It's a bunch of kids.
8. My mom and dad have 8 children.
Oh my Lord. Where do you fit in that?
I'm the smartest. I didn't fit. They put me. I had to sleep in a tent out back. The other 7 all had their own rooms. Oddly enough, you would think
really?
with my mom and dad had a bedroom,
Right.
and then there were 7 other bedrooms.
Right.
You would think I could at least bunk with somebody.
Nobody would let you.
No, I slept in a tent in the back. See, that's where your parents
really
should
weird.
step in at that point. But
I'm surprised you couldn't get a meeting with them.
yeah, it was very unusual.
So when you lived in the tent for all that time, did you have to hunt for your own food?
Yeah, foraging is what I called it.
Right. In Miami.
Yeah, I learned the word forage before I learned the word mama or dada. They were like, "You're going to have to forage," and I'm like, "Gosh, I'm an infant," No, you know what's weird? To answer the question, I'm 4th out of the 8.
Oh, you're smack in the middle.
Yeah, and of the 8, we've all paired off in careers. There are 2 comedians.
Right.
Of course, you know my brother Dennis.
Yeah.
There are 2 firefighters. There are 2 school teachers.
Really?
And there are 2 salesmen.
How bizarre.
Yeah.
That's really weird. It just felt like teamwork.
Yeah, we learned that concept really well.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I wash dishes with him. I've got to follow him into comedy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And you started comedy before your brother? Or you started first? Who's older?
Dennis is older by a couple of years, and I was the first one that kind of thought about doing it. And I auditioned at the comic strip in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
A couple of times.
Right.
And then he knew I was interested in this. He and I actually auditioned as a comedy team.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What did you call yourselves?
We were the Regan brothers.
Oh, very clever.
It took us a long time to come up with that. And you're not going to believe who we followed. At the comic strip in Fort Lauderdale, they would bring professional comedians down from mostly New York, but they would bring them in from L.A. as well. And they would do their time. And then in between, they would slip auditioners.
Right.
We followed a comedian we had never heard of before. We laughed out of control for an hour. Jerry Seinfeld.
No.
Yes.
Really?
Jerry Seinfeld
did a whole set.
Did a full set. He did like 45 minutes.
Right.
And we had to follow Jerry Seinfeld. I mean, the intro might as well have been, now that you've been entertained beyond belief.
Right.
Are you ready for two people that belong nowhere near a stage?
And now two guys who know absolutely nothing.
We were horrible. We were like, just fish flapping around, in a boat after being caught.
Imitating Seinfeld.
Yeah.
That sock thing was funny.
What else did he say? Cotton balls. Dennis, say something about cotton balls.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. But I remember we just really laughed like hell at Jerry Seinfeld, and we were amazed that he wasn't famous.
Right.
Well, this was before he had even done The Tonight Show. This was back in 1981 or 82.
Oh, my God. So he hadn't even been on The Tonight Show?
No, and it was soon after that he just, exploded.
Right.
So
wow. And how long did you stay in Miami doing comedy?
I ended up... Well, Dennis decided he didn't want to do it after that audition. He said, I need this like I need a hole in the head.
So when are we going back? I think I'm good.
Yeah, you're going to want to do that every night? I was like, yeah, didn't you love that?
No, I'm gonna go with the firemen.
Yeah, I didn't care for that at all. Well, how about 3 firemen and 1 comedian?
That's hilarious.
So I ended up continuing to audition, and
right.
I ended up passing my audition there, and then I got a job there.
I like how the comedy team breaks up after one act.
Yeah,
we're a team. You're on your own.
We're a team for 5 minutes. Yeah, And after 5 minutes of working together, it was 2 individual Regan brothers.
Oh, God. So you kept at it. You kept plugging away.
I kept plugging away. I auditioned by myself, I think twice more, because it was my 5th audition that I ended up passing.
Right.
And then I worked at that club.
Right.
I ended up getting a job, seating people and taking the trash out and working in the kitchen and all of that.
And how old are you? This
is right out of college.
Right out of college.
Notice I didn't say right after graduating.
Right.
This is right out of college.
Right out of college. Much like my comedy duo career.
Yeah, right.
College was a little short, too.
Yeah, I had to go to all my professors. We don't work well together. I'm going to have to quit this.
You're right. How long did you stay in school? A couple of years?
No, I was there, well, a full 4 years and then an extra semester, and I still couldn't get it done.
Oh, really?
I was 10 credit hours shy of graduating when I dropped out to try comedy.
Ah.
Imagine that phone call to Mom and Dad.
You're so close.
Mom, Dad, are you guys sitting down? Your son wants to be a clown.
But wait, he's got only just 10 more hours
10
left.
10 credit hours, son. Yeah, well, what are you going to do? So
So you split.
I split. I did the comedy thing, and I was at that club for about 2.5 years, and they let me go on every night.
Wow.
But it's weird. Down there, they did it a way that I've never seen it anyplace else. There was the audition night, which I just described.
Right.
And you could get a good time slot on audition night.
Yeah.
But that was only 1 night a week. The other 6 nights, they let the local comedians... One got to MC, one got to be the opening act. The rest all went on at the end of the show.
Right.
As the audience was leaving. And Joe Mullen, who ran the place down there... wanted a clear delineation between what the audience had seen and what they're about to see.
So what would he do?
So the MC would have to go on stage, and basically, it was funny. The MC would have to say, after the third headliner,
right.
They had 3 co-headliners.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for our show. So there can be no complaints about what they were going to see after this.
Right.
That's it for our show. We do have some local comedians who are just getting started. They're going to come up and do a few minutes each. If you'd like to hang around and give them an audience, you're welcome to do so. But for those that, want to take off, we thank you very much for coming. So 70% of the audience would just get up and start walking out.
Oh, God.
And then the first local would be introduced to that.
So brutal.
And then the audience was just leaving, like the one guy, another 10, 12 people would leave. And then after that, another few people would leave. I mean, I performed the smallest, I performed in front of one guy one time at the end. And he wasn't even laughing. I think he was just too tired to get up and leave. He just had his hand on his...
All depressed.
Yeah, just like, are you almost done?
I don't want to go home.
As bad as you are, you're still better than me being in my house.
Right. By my watch, my wife is still awake. Do whatever you...
Yeah, keep doing more of those. What do you call them? Jokes? You really call them that?
Wow, so you stuck it out there. And did you have a sense that, well, obviously, I mean, and this is what's so great about comedian stories is it's so awful, but you keep going, and because there's something in it that's telling you I should keep going.
Yeah, it's very weird. I've talked to a few comedians about this. My very first time when I auditioned, my very first time in a comedy club when I auditioned, I actually did well.
Right.
But as a fluke, I blanked. I blanked out. I couldn't remember anything.
Right.
And because I had every word memorized, like, hi, how are you? Even those were memorized. And when I first talked into the microphone that night, I was too close, and I got feedback. Oh, there's our clock going. Sorry about that.
The chimes.
I got feedback, and I ad-libbed saying, well, I've already learned one thing. I don't know how to talk into a microphone, and that got a chuckle.
Right.
But then the A to B to C to D memorization thing went out the window.
Oh.
So I completely just blanked. And I'm looking out into these lights and, faces, and I'm like, what am I doing up here? And I just ad-libbed about how stupid I was that I couldn't remember my act.
Oh, really?
That was my whole audition,
that's funny.
Was that I'm an idiot. But I was just doing it because I couldn't think of my act, and I was trying to stall until I could remember it. And they were laughing. I'm like, no, I'm serious. I really can't remember my act. And they're ha-ha. And I'm like, you must be looking at me like I'm the stupidest guy in the world. And I killed.
Wow.
And I got off stage, and I had like such mixed feelings. Like I was happy that I made them laugh, but I was like, I don't think I can be a comedian if I can't remember any of my jokes.
How interesting.
Yeah, but because I did well...
Yeah.
I had that in the back of my head the next few times when I bombed, going, all right, I know I can make them laugh. It's just a question of, putting it all together.
How do I do it?
But I wonder, like, if I did remember my act and bombed, would I have quit? I don't know.
Right. I mean, and were your jokes, I don't know if you remember, but were your jokes lending to that same kind of attitude of like that I'm just kind of a dumb guy trying to muddle my way through, or were they just kind of more like...
They were more surreal, off-the-wall stuff, I had, like, very bizarre... It's stuff that I still think is funny, but, like, audiences don't know... Like, one of my first jokes was, my parents told me they named me after Thomas Jefferson. And I said, but my name's Brian. And they said, no, we named you after Thomas Jefferson. Just
right.
Which I think is funny, but the audience would like, I don't get that. What is he talking about?
Right. But it's really interesting because your first ad lib almost becomes your guy, your onstage character. Really,
it was very bizarre. That's right.
Yeah, how funny. It was interesting yesterday when we were on the plane for all those couple hours. I was watching, we were just kind of like doing stuff and, getting our food and plugging things in and the headphones and all. And I was like, you look like a guy that like when all the stuff that happens in your act, like the UPS guy, all these kind of things, whenever you run into that thing of I just don't want to be stupid, it seems like that kind of is goes on in your life.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to it.
Yeah.
You just want to get through life without looking stupid, which is what I say in my show, and it's true,
Yeah, it really is funny. Like, because there's certain guys like that. I have friends that funny stuff happens to them all the time. It's just like there's just things just kind of occur, and other people kind of have to manufacture it through writing or whatever. You seem to me like I think some goofy stuff happens to you pretty often.
Yeah, I just got to live my life, man. I don't need to sit down in front of a piece of paper. In fact, I don't know. I'm not good at that kind of writing.
You're not?
No, you
don't sit down and write?
No, I've learned for me, I just kind of I just do what I would normally do anyway. And just, things happen, or you read something, or you see something, and you go, hey, well, that'd be a bit,
But when you see something, like if you see something happen that's funny to you, do you jot it down at all? Or do you just kind of remember it and walk up on stage?
Oh, I'll jot it down at that point. You know what I mean? Once I see something, I'll jot it down, and then I'll try to form it into a bit. But
you will write it out at that point?
Yes, but in terms of, like, if I don't have any thoughts in my head, I can't sit down in front of a blank piece of paper and just create comedy. I'll just keep staring at this blank piece of paper going, I don't know how other people do this.
Right.
I need something external to happen.
Right, and then then you do craft it. Like,
yes.
You'll write it out.
Well, I'll get the nuts and bolts version of it. I want to know how it's going to start and end. But sometimes I don't want to have the words too clearly laid out, because for me, a lot of the best writing takes place on stage.
Right.
Because I find when I do try to craft it out, that I tend to get too cutesy and clever. And I think a lot of people confuse clever with funny. I'll go, man, am I writing some clever stuff?
This is gonna wow them.
Yeah. I don't want people walking out after a show go, man, you were clever. It doesn't intrigue me. I want them to laugh, He
was really clever.
He was clever.
I didn't laugh at all.
No, I didn't. Not one moment did I laugh, but boy, some clever thoughts. So for me, if I'm on stage doing something that's too clever, there's something inside me that edits. And it's like that, the scenes in a movie about a newscast or hot off the presses. That's what happens in my head. It's like, say this now. It's much tighter than your bullcrap.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's a little angry guy in your head on stage
that will work for me and go, you're not getting any laughs. You're talking too much. This is a much tighter, cleaner way of getting to what you're trying to get to.
It's so funny to picture, like this little guy getting your notes. We're not saying this. Are you crazy? Regan, you did it again. You wrote all this horseshit.
Forget all this. Say this instead. And that happens while I'm out there. So I tape every show.
You do. And
then I'll listen and go, oh, man, that is a much better way of getting to it.
You're listening to Come to Papa on Sirius XM 99. I'm here with the great Brian Regan in his beautiful home here in Las Vegas.
Thank you.
Very nice. I like this couch. You can get off my lap now if you want and continue the rest.
I didn't know if it was the whole interview. It's your show. I didn't want to.
But that's it's really interesting because the way when you're talking about how you work, because one of the things I always admire about your comedy is the word choices. The words are really, they're just really spot on and hilarious, like girth, like in the UPS thing, and you had this other, I forget when you said something about quickly. I need to move this more quickly, or I forget what the word phrasing was, but you do have these really poignant word choices that to me seem like definitely like a style of yours.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I believe in trying to make jokes 1% funnier. You know what I mean? It's like if it's already getting a laugh, that's cool.
Right.
But if you can change a word and have it just be a little sharper and a little bit more spot on or a little bit more peculiar or interesting,
right?
Why not make the joke 1% funnier? And a lot of times word choice, I mean, George Carlin was the king of that.
Yeah,
a lot of times, I hate to denounce somebody else, but a lot of times you'll see a comedian and they'll have a bit that's funny.
Right.
You'll work with them and you go, wow, that's a good bit. Once that gets tight, that's going to be beautiful. And then you work with them a year later and it's done the exact same way. And you go, wow, how come they're not tightening the screws on that?
Right.
I like to tighten the screws.
Yeah. And how do you, the way that you're working now, you're going theater to theater around the country. How do you fit in working out stuff?
Well, it is challenging. In comedy clubs, you can pick that third show on a Saturday or a Sunday night and throw in the new stuff. And in a theater, it's a little bit different because, they're there to see a show, and they're sitting in these red velvet chairs. And it's like, I don't feel like can't really call this a workshop.
Right, I'm going to work my stuff out.
People have ties on out there,
Those monocles.
Yeah, right. If I do well, they yell bravo, and if I don't, I don't know what's going to happen.
She's going to throw that mink stall over her shoulder and, hey, get up the aisle.
So I have to be more careful, but I will do it. But I have to.
You will,
of course, because that's the only place I can work new stuff out.
Yeah.
But you try to sandwich it in between,
right?
A strong bit and you do the new one, and then you do another strong bit.
Right.
What's weird about my stuff is that it's, every comedian works differently. Some are one-liner oriented, like a Stephen Wright, although he can tell longer form things. But my stuff they're bits, man. They're chunks, and they're usually at least a minute long, if not longer.
Right.
And if they're not flying...
Right.
That's a long time to have an audience just going, what is he talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. You're not just sneaking in a line. You're like, and now here's the golf chunk I'm working on.
Yeah, you do a whole thing where they're going, man, we should have gone and got a soda during this.
Now, I admired something about watching you on the plane last night, because you've made your career on the road. You are I want to ask you more about that also, just about not doing the TV stuff as much as just you've built your career just touring. Mm-hmm. And we're on the plane, and I've got a bag about the size of a small child, and it's filled with magazines and books and an iPad and a computer and headphones, and you're there with an iPhone and these two little earbuds and nothing else. Not a thing. What's going on in your head? What are you doing, you Zen master of the road?
Well, I've got a little bag in the overhead compartment. But,
yeah, a very little bag. It was like a little change purse. I pulled this thing out that a woman had to help me get it out of the overhead, and you just slid out with two fingers.
Well, it's because I hate confrontation, and I can't handle a bag that has to take up much space. So my bag, I want to not take away from any other people in the world. That's why it's thin, and I can I can slide it in. I can slide it in the more important bags of the other people.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. So you don't.
I hate when you get on a plane and you can't find any overhead. I don't want to be talking to people going, can you slide this? I don't want to talk to anybody.
Right.
I just want to slide it in and sit down and put my earbuds in.
That's hilarious, because everyone stresses as you're getting in, when you have your carry-on, it's like, am I going to get a spot? That guy's got a bag. Oh, man, if I don't get in on quick,
I get tired of that stress, man.
Really? Yeah. That's brilliant.
So I wanted a little thin stand-up bag.
But then you're checking your bags.
Oh, I check another bag, yeah.
Right, so you got to wait. But you don't mind the waiting?
No, not at all.
You're just going to hang out.
Yeah.
It was so funny. And you want to tell our friends what you were listening to? On your earbuds?
Pink Floyd.
It was not
Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, and Led Zeppelin. I go back between the two.
You are a liar. You are not lying to my listeners. Brian Regan has on his iPhone Barry Manilow, Copacabana. No lie. And so a whole bunch of Celtic music.
Yeah, right.
He puts on his Celtic music and stares out at the sunset as I'm typing away and reading novels.
I have Luther Vandross in there. I've got, it's like I got some cool stuff, and then there's some stuff that my kids have downloaded that slips in there.
Blame it on the kids.
Well, it's funny. It's like I don't know how to separate my music out. I don't know how to make a playlist.
Right.
I'm not technologically oriented.
Yeah.
So I will, say I'll listen to something that I'm proud to tell your listeners, The Who, Eminence Front or something, right?
Right.
And then I have it on shuffle.
Uh-huh.
And then the next song clicks in. It's like the bunny hop. Da-da-da-da-da-da. No, how could this possibly follow that? There's not a radio station in the world that's following Eminence Front with the bunny hop. Only in my world can this happen.
That's awesome. And you bring your kids out on tour with you once in a while, you were saying?
Yeah, every couple of months.
That
we'll
sounds
do a
so
run
great
together.
to me.
I love it.
Yeah, that's got to be fun.
Yeah.
They just get to go on the plane with you and head out. And
But I don't want them watching any more than 5 minutes of my show a night because I don't want them to burn out on it,
Yeah, interesting. So how do you do that, though?
Well, we have our nanny travels with us,
that's
and
smart.
she's wonderful. And I will, say, listen, let them come out, but I don't want them to watch the whole show, and
right.
I don't want them to start. The thought of them rolling their eyes at Daddy, oh, here he goes again with the cup of dirt.
When's he going to write some new stuff?
Yeah, it would crush me, So
that's really smart.
Yeah, just a few minutes at a time.
Did you think at any point last night when our wing was broken that we might crash?
Yeah, well, to me it was like a 50-50 shot.
Did you feel like if we did crash, it would be kind of cool that two comedians would probably be in the news?
I think you would be more in the news than me. They would
I was
say
thinking
Tom Papa and a plane load of other passengers perished last night.
That's funny. I thought it would be the opposite. I'd be like legendary comedian Brian Regan and that guy from The Marriage Rep.
Actually, we both have delusions of grandeur. They're probably talking about somebody that's
Right.
somebody else in there that we're not even aware of. Some scientist.
Some scientist cured cancer.
Yeah, right. He and a couple of clowns.
And two goofballs who probably screwed up the wing. Did you see the guy in front of you, what he was looking at on his computer, by the way?
No.
He was a dog dentist. And he kept bringing up photos of canine dental work, like
That's
big
hysterical.
things of like disgusting, like being pulled out of their puppy faces.
No, I did not notice that.
You didn't notice that?
I wish I would have seen that.
Yeah. You watched a movie on my iPad.
A movie that you recommended called The Trip.
Yes, Stephen Coogan.
Yeah, which was wonderful.
Yeah, really.
We were
good.
talking about how, Hollywood seems to want to make these big, giant, crazy movies with big budgets, and yet two people driving in a car on a trip can be so thoroughly entertaining, at least for some people.
It was great.
I loved it.
Yeah, just funny. Just really purely funny. Now, did you ever pursue movies? Did you ever try and go audition for TV shows or any of that kind of stuff?
A little bit here and there, it's, I don't know. I've gone to network, as they say, on a couple of sitcoms, where you go through the entire audition process.
And the last one is at network.
And last one is at network.
Where you might get the part.
Yes, which is, I don't think I was cut out for that kind of pressure.
Yeah.
I remember
That's
going
the
to
worst.
one time, and I had never gotten to that level, and before I went into the room, I was on with my managers and agents saying, stall, the contract hasn't been, finalized.
That's
and I'm
the
like,
worst.
what are you doing to me? And then you have to sign the contract. your
before the audition.
Because if you get the part, they don't want you having them over a barrel.
Right.
And I didn't even know, sitcom money is like otherworldly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I saw what they were going to try to get per episode, and I'm like, if that goes well on the other side of that door, I'll make that every week. And my heart was like, I couldn't even talk.
You walk in the room. Okay, you want to take that again, Brian?
Yeah, the producers are like, wow, he was good in the last interview.
Oh, that's terrible pressure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you didn't do a lot of it, though. Did you just get to a point where you were like, you're living in L.A., but you're out on the road doing your thing?
Well, I mean, when I first started auditioning, it was to try to get parts in other sitcoms that are already being made. Right. And then I got to a point where it's like, well, jeepers, maybe I could be lucky enough to have my own thing around me.
Yeah.
I thought I had gotten to a point as a comedian that maybe I could get something like that. We all look at Jerry Seinfeld as the pinnacle model of a guy being able to build a show around his comedy.
Right.
And it's a hard thing to achieve, but that's what I would like to achieve. So it got to where I would go in and want to pitch my ideas. I was really no longer interested in what somebody else wanted to do. I didn't want to get plugged into something else.
Yeah.
And my ideas apparently are kind of off the beaten path because you get a room full of people sitting around, and I'll throw my idea out, and I would get reactions like, "Well, thank you very much for coming in. Give us a chance to talk. We'll get back to you." I'll go out and get on my cell phone. Great news! They thank me for coming in.
They're going to talk about it.
They're going to talk about it, and they're going to get back to us. Isn't that wonderful?
And what they really meant was, okay, thank you for coming in. We're going to let you leave and then talk about you. and how you cannot possibly be on our network.
Thanks for sparing. Now that we know this, we know what not to do with the 8:30 spot on Thursdays.
Right. But do you still have a feeling that you'd like to do that? Or
sure.
Yeah?
But, the further along I get in my career, the less willing I am to compromise.
Yeah.
So I think it gets harder and harder because I have a nice career going. I love what I do, and I love the autonomy of it.
Right.
And I like being able to think of something during the day and know that I can do it exactly the way I think of it.
Right.
But television is not like that. It's more collaborative, and that doesn't mean I wouldn't want to collaborate with somebody, but that hierarchy of collaboration, it's not only do you have to collaborate with another person,
right,
and you have people above you saying, well, we don't want you to do this, or we don't want you to do that. Or
right.
It's like, I don't like that way of creating.
Yeah, and what's so insane is that here you have a guy that's going out who's just built on pure funny. He knows what's funny, has built this whole career, and is out there selling out theaters and touring around as one of the funny guys. And then to have somebody go, well, no, I think that he should be in an office. Let me tell him what's funny.
Yeah.
It really is a kind of a silly thing. But do you feel like you've gotten to a point? What was your goal when you were starting out? Like when you really realized, okay, I've got a thing here. Did you have any goal? Like, was it just to? When
I first decided I wanted to be a comedian, I was in college.
Yeah.
And my dream was to be able to do comedy and make $100 a show.
Right.
I thought, now I'm not there yet.
Right.
I mean, that's pie in the sky stuff.
Well, you're getting close.
But I'm getting close. I got $75 for a corporate a couple of weeks ago.
Good for you.
Yes.
Keep at it.
But that was all I wanted. And I know it's going to sound corny, but that's really all just to be able to do comedy and make a living at it is really
right.
all I ever wanted. Anything above that would be gravy.
Right.
But I don't need it, and nor do I want to need it.
Right.
I don't want to need a sitcom or a TV show. To me, that's all like hitting the lottery. If it happens, great. If I can have it be about my comedy, great. But if not, no big deal. Life's still complete as far as I'm concerned.
That's really great. That's really great. I hope that you can get $100 a show sometime.
Wow.
I'm wondering if maybe you couldn't have a couple people pool together the money.
I don't know.
And see about it.
Here's my first negotiation ever.
Right.
I was at the comic strip, working as a dishwasher and going on at the end of the night for 10 minutes, right?
Right.
And I heard there was a bar in Coconut Grove near Miami that was going to have a comedy night.
Uh-huh.
So somebody said, you ought to call down there and see if you can get booked down there. So I had never done anything other than the comic strip.
Right.
And they weren't even paying me to be a comedian there. They were paying me to do the dishes.
Right.
And they let me go on.
Yeah.
So I called this guy who's booking this comedy night. And he's like, I said, yeah, I've been working here at the comic strip. He goes, how much do you get for a show? And I'm thinking, well, I get nothing.
Right.
I don't want to answer. I don't know what to say that.
Right.
I get nothing for a show.
What do you mean by get?
Every night I get nothing. Sometimes they'll let me have a cheeseburger.
I usually get wrinkly fingers from doing all those dishes.
That's about it. Do you guys have dishes? Can I come and do your dishes?
I'd love to get a backache here.
So he says, how much do you get? And I'm like, wow, this is like a negotiation. And I said, I don't know. I'm a humming and hawing. I said, I think $75 would be fair. This was like in 1982 or 83.
Yeah.
And the guy goes, hang on a second. And I'm thinking, oh my, I asked for too much. I don't need 75. I'm beating myself up in my head. Going, why didn't I say 50 or 25? I just want to go do the show.
Right.
So the guy gets back on and goes, I'll give you 100 and a hotel room.
Oh.
And I'm like, well, I'm bad at that part of show business. I'm concentrating on these jokes. I got to learn how to ask for money.
You idiot. We're going to give you more than you asked for.
Yeah, and a hotel room. No, 85. We'll go halves on the hotel. I insist on paying for half.
Oh, that's so funny. Do you have your bits are so people really, like your bits and stuff? Do they call out for them in shows? Do they want to see some of the old stuff or?
Yeah, my audience is. I'm incredibly proud of them. They're just wonderful people. When I meet them after shows, I think these are people that I would love to hang out with, and they're very polite.
Yeah.
And they kind of know that the way I do it is I don't want my main show to just be like all old stuff.
Right.
My main show is relatively new stuff from the last couple of years.
Right.
And then at the end I come out.
Yeah.
For like another 10 minutes. And at that time they will shout out older stuff.
Oh, okay.
And it's kind of fun because then
cool.
There's a line between what my show was and then we'll go, hey, now let's revisit some of the older stuff. But if they did that all throughout my show, it would be a little, I'd feel like, the people shooting at your feet in the old Wild West. Dance.
Yeah.
Dance, boy.
It was funny because I was watching last night online I was watching some of your stuff and there was someone filming it on their phone.
Oh.
And he's filming it and it's like kind of going in and out and it was really funny stuff, but it was like, it's over and he keeps it running. So you hear the audio of them leaving. And it was so interesting because as a comedian, you don't realize like what's going on in this audience. Mm. The first thing was that all these people around them were going, oh my God, that was so I couldn't breathe. The last half hour, I could not breathe. It was so, and then this girl's like, oh my God, he was funnier than the last time, which is also great. And then he's like, I got an hour. I kept it going. I took like an hour. And I was thinking, took is really the operative word there. Because you just took an hour of this guy's act.
One of the weirdest for me was I had a guy come up he had downloaded my CD, illegally.
Right.
And that's so pervasive that it probably didn't even dawn on him that was uncool. He wanted me to sign it.
Oh, really?
Would you sign what I stole from you?
Oh, my God.
Sure.
But they don't. You did, right?
Of course.
Of course. Yeah,
I'm honored. I think he was just oblivious to the fact that, I should have taken a $20 bill out of his wallet. Would you sign that for me?
Right. No, but they don't see it that way.
They don't see it that way at all.
No.
And there is a tremendous benefit to people wanting to get your content. Listen, as long as they want to come see me live at some point, then it works out in the end. So it doesn't bother me.
Right.
But
do you feel like it's upping the demand for new material because so many people are able to see it?
Yeah, but I'm kind of lucky in that I always like to come up with new stuff anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, in fact, one time I did a show, it was about a year ago, and I was working on, I know what stuff has been recorded. I know what's on my CDs and what's on my DVDs, and I'm always trying to work away from that. Because it's like, once it's done, you can't turn it over on a dime, but it's like, I want to replace that.
Yeah.
And I'm on stage, and I'm trying to do stuff that I know isn't on anything. So like if people hadn't seen me live, and they've only seen me on DVD or CD, I wanted them to see mostly stuff that wasn't on anything like that.
Yeah.
So the first half hour I knew wasn't on anything. And then I did one old bit just to use it as a transition to get into something else new. This is after 30 minutes of, to me, virgin snow material.
Yeah.
I do the old bit, and a guy in the back goes, "Heard it."
No.
Yeah.
Oh, brutal.
So I'm like, if there's ever a time where it would be nice to have a bazooka and let your violent fantasies just go berserk. Really, buddy? Really? You're gonna call me? You're gonna calm me down on one bit?
That would be great to have a comedy bazooka.
Sure.
Just like, excuse me, folks.
I'm going to invent a comedy bazooka. I'm sure I'll make a fortune.
You would. Click, click. If everybody...
It's called the D-Heckler.
Sir, could you stand up for a second?
Yeah, just stand up. I want to...
Oh, back to the old stuff. Oh, did you ever have any moments where you're, you've, as you tour, you start out in rental cars and driving for, hours to get to your next gig and staying in these horrible hotels, and through the years it gets better. Things improve. You get a first class ticket now and again. You're staying in a nicer hotel. You're playing these nicer venues. Do you have anything recently where you're like, oh, I really haven't gotten that far? You know what I mean? Where you're like, oh, it's life still is.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you try to stay in nice hotels, but some cities don't really have nice hotels.
Right.
So you stay in the best thing they have, which might not be incredibly nice.
Right.
And I remember checking into some motel, basically, in a small town. And I had taken the red eye, so I want to sleep all day and do the show that night.
Yeah.
And they're giving me my key, the people behind the desk go, when can you leave the room for an hour so we can change the curtains? They were putting new curtains in. I'm like, I can't, never. I'm like, well, no, today is curtain day. It's like, well, you got to have tomorrow be curtain day, I guess, because I'm not leaving. When I'm going to go for a walk while you change the curtains.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and then you go, man, I was in a Ritz-Carlton last night. Tonight I got to go for a walk while they change the curtains. Calling
your manager, can you please not book me in cities when it's curtain day?
How many times have I told you? Find out if it's curtain day. You go from big city to small city, and it could be night to night. You could be in Chicago one night and just some little town. I love both. It isn't that I don't like this. No. I love playing everywhere, but they're just different, and that's what's fun about it.
Yeah.
But I was in a big city one night, and then we have a tour bus thing.
Right.
So we pulled to the hotel for the next city, which was a smaller place.
Right.
And the woman gives me the key. And now, when the bus pulled up, there was an overhang in front of where the cars pull up.
Right.
So you just walk in, you're like in another world, like just sleeping on the bus, and the woman gives me the key to like the room is like 3417 or something. So I said, no, it was like 2114 or something. So I said, okay, so I'm on the 21st floor, and she said, we only have 2 floors. I'm thinking, how unobservant does she think I am, man? This guy thinks we have 21 floors. And
we only have 2.
We're in the middle of Iowa somewhere, man.
What would we do with all those floors?
Well, that's a lot of curtains to change.
We're going to need a lot of curtain days.
Every day will have to be curtain day.
So that's how you do it? You go by bus? You roll on? Oh, really?
Well, I'll fly to the first city, and then we take the bus from... I usually do 4 nights in a row, Thursday through Sunday. Take the bus to each of those, and then fly home from the last one. And
then the bus goes on and meets you wherever the next city is?
Correct.
Oh, wow. How could you think, if we're going down in a plane crash, that I would be in the papers and you would not? You're living like Mac Daddy. You're cruising in buses.
It's funny. It's like I love the anonymity, So what's weird is but the fact that most people have no clue who I am is intriguing to me.
Right.
And I like when I get off the bus,
to
go into a restaurant or something like that.
Right.
And people will come up to me and go, who's in that bus?
Sting.
They're like looking behind me, like as soon as this guy gets out of the way, somebody famous is getting off this bus. Who's in there? And sometimes, we'll just make up a silly name. This is Merle Scruffles, and it's amazing how many people go, "Oh, I love him."
I love Merle Scruffles.
You love Merle Scruffles, do you?
Do you have any fun ways to pass the time on the bus?
No, I'd like to,
put in your earbuds.
Yeah, I mean, it's so fun to say. Well, that's when I'll if I'm not doing calisthenics, I'm organizing all my charitable. It's like I'm embarrassed to say I sleep. I'm not embarrassed. I sleep a lot. My nickname in college was Rip for Rip Van Winkle.
Was it really?
And I love to sleep. In fact, that's one. It's not the main reason, but it is a reason I got into comedy. Because when I was in college, I had these 7 a.m. classes that I just couldn't make. You're allowed 3 cuts in a semester, and they'd all be gone by the end of the first week. I'm like, well, I got a cut. Wednesday I'll take a second cut. Friday I'll take the third cut, right?
Really trying to make it, and you just couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it. And I remember thinking, I can't function in this world. What am I going to do? Get a job that I have to be at 8 in the morning? I can't do it. And then a comedian performed at our college, and the show started at 8 p.m., and I'm sitting in the audience going, I could get up by now. I could do this. If I had to just wake up by 8 p.m., I think I could handle it. I'd be groggy.
I need some coffee.
Yeah, I'd have to perk up and have some breakfast first. But
oh, that's so funny. It really is such a great part about being a comedian. But when you have kids, didn't you find that threw a little monkey wrench into it? Because kids get up at like 7 and just come stare at you.
Well, my kids fortunately have the Regan sleeping gene.
They do.
And they sleep. They're sleeping right now.
Right.
They're in the back room and they're sleeping. And
it's 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And they're asleep.
Yeah, I heck with the school system and all this learning, this book learning they talk about. This
is so great.
I've gotten far without learning anything. Look at me. I don't know anything, and I do okay.
You really have this system down. Your kids are not at school. It's 10 o'clock. This is no
we
joke.
do the home schooling thing.
You do the homeschooling.
Not me. I mean, I don't teach them.
You don't. Well, obviously, you're not teaching them.
Somebody much more qualified than I could be to come over and give them, teach them ciphering.
Ciphering.
And them ABCs.
All important stuff.
Yeah.
So, and you homeschool, and then so the kids can sleep in. So you don't have. So
Correct.
Wow. So you can sleep.
That the Regan sleeping gene, I'm like joking about it, but my brothers and sisters, we all can sleep.
Really?
And we just all have. Anybody that knows us, they just tell these legendary stories of going over to supposed to pick up a Regan at 3:00 and they're zonked out. We all sleep.
Really?
I think the record is like 27 hours, of just...
A Regan record?
Yeah, just sleeping through for 27 hours.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I love it. In fact, I love sleeping so much that I like to do the snooze thing, and I will start that like 2 hours before I need to get up, because I don't mind waking up. I love going to sleep so much that if the snooze goes off mine is like set for every 9 minutes, I get to go to sleep like 15 times in one day.
This really is a sickness.
I love it. I'm like, oh wow, I go back to sleep. Snooze, all right, I get to go back to sleep. All right, I get to go back to sleep. I don't mind the waking up.
It's so
the time I don't like waking up is when I have to really get up.
When you really have to go somewhere.
It's like, oh man, now I got to get in the shower.
When you're in the shower in the morning, you thinking when you can nap next?
Of course. I do a nap before every show.
You do?
Yeah.
How close to showtime?
It depends, on the travel and stuff like that. But I like, if the show's at 8, I want to get up at 6, so I like to sleep from 5 to 6, or 4:30 to 6. And, you wake up and you're like, I have no clue where I am. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
But it's like going into another existence, another plane, man. I love it.
It's so great, because I really have been struggling with this, because our kids, I know you're going to think this is absurd, but they go to school and I'm as a comedian, I really feel like it fights against my schedule. I mean, I drink so much coffee throughout the day just to be able to get to the show that night, especially when I'm working in the city and I'm home. Children do not match the comedy lifestyle, and you have done a brilliant thing by bringing them into your lifestyle. Like I didn't know there was an option. I thought I had to go by their rules.
I like to change the rules. No, we go to bed late, but it's because they don't have to get up early, so we'll stay up late and watch cartoons or something like that, and yeah, it's great.
Man, that's so great. I have big plans.
For your listeners, pull your kids out of school. Get them all out of school, let them stay up late, and let them wake up late, and they'll do just fine.
They will do just fine.
They'll do just fine.
They really will. Do they have friends, though? Where do they see other kids?
One of them had a friend a few years back, but we call them daylight friends. You're
like vampires.
That kid was during the day, so we had to... I said, you're not allowed to hang out with that boy anymore.
You're a family of vampires.
Did you see, what was that, a suntan he had?
What's this outside he keeps talking about?
No, we can't have that. We can't bring that boy in here anymore.
Hey, kid. You're listening to Come to Papa on Sirius XM 99. I'm having a great time here with my friend Brian Regan. We shared an airplane from Miami to Las Vegas last night, and I crawled back into his place by 8 o'clock this morning so we could chat some more. And I noticed there's no pets here in your place.
No,
you've got no
petless.
No, you're a petless place.
Yeah,
because you would have to walk them outside. It would cry and want to go for a walk.
I tried to have a pet when I was in college because we didn't have any growing up. With my mom and dad having 8 children, we thought, what do we need another living thing competing for food?
Right.
And I'm outside doing my foraging. I don't want I want another animal out there. Hey, how did you get that rabbit? So we didn't have any pets growing up. And when I was in college, I don't know how I happened upon it, but I ended up with a baby chick,
right?
A little baby chick, and I thought I want to nurture a living thing and help this thing grow. So I got a little baby chick, and I got a little cardboard, because it's a dorm.
Right.
I mean, you can't have a Doberman Pinscher in your dorm.
But you can hide a chick.
That little baby chick. Well, I thought I could hide a baby chick because no pets were allowed.
Right.
So I get this baby chick, and I try to find whatever food it might like, and
Yeah.
And I really tried to care for him or her, I forget. But,
Right.
and it was just this quiet thing for like half a day.
Yeah.
And after like the first 12 hours, it went chip, chip, chip. And I was like, oh, that's cute. And then it went chip, chip. And I went, okay. And then it went chip, 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 chip. Just chirped nonstop, like a New York City car alarm that somebody, like the guy's not even in town. And I'm like, what the heck am I going to do with this thing?
Right.
This is no longer a clandestine pet. Everybody knows it, and this is going to cut into my sleep now.
Yeah. It's a living alarm.
There's no going back to sleep with this thing. There's no snooze button on this baby chick head. And I don't want to be violent with it, you know what I mean? So,
like Lenny from A Mice and Men.
So I had to give it away. I made a little poster, and I put it up in the cafeteria at school and said, free baby chick, and I drew a little baby chick. I didn't put anything about the chirping. I don't know if that's false advertising. I just avoided it. I didn't lie.
It just drew with its mouth closed.
Yeah, right. That's right. So this girl said she wanted it, and I gave it to her, and I'm like, good luck.
Chip, chip. What was that? I don't know.
No, I don't know. Chip, chip. You got to get out of here.
I don't know what you're talking about. So you're here in Las Vegas, and every time you go to the airport, you're passing billboards for George Wallace and Rita Rudner and any other comic that's coming into town and doing their thing. Do you have any thoughts of possibly running your own show here and not going on the road at some point, or do you enjoy just the way you got it set up?
Yeah, I like to. It's weird. It's like most people want. I would imagine most people want a short commute. People always like to say, I live 10 minutes from where I work.
Right.
Maybe I'm a fool. I love the long commute.
Right.
I don't want to work anywhere near where I live. I want to go to an airport and fly 1,000 miles away from here.
Right.
And go work someplace else. Not that I have anything against Las Vegas. I love Las Vegas. But when I'm here, I just want to be a daddy and change hats. You know what I mean? Right. I like the two worlds.
Oh, that's interesting.
But maybe at some point I would do that. But it's not something I would want to do in the short term,
Yeah, yeah. And it's something about it that seems like does it seem to you like it would be more of a job? Like, because you're going to the same spot every night? It would seem a little bit more like you have an office in a way.
Maybe, but I like the fact that is there as something I could probably do down the road at some point. Like if I ever did tire of the road, it's like, wow, maybe it would be cool to just drive across town, go to a show, and come back. But right now, I haven't even come close to burning out on the travel. I love the traveling. Yeah,
the travel's great. Yeah. And especially when you bring your kids like that, is such a great fix. I wonder if it's so smart that you're not letting them see your act.
You've seen my act. I don't want to traumatize my children.
Well, this was really great. I can't tell you what a stroke of luck this was, that I just happened to be here for one day to go do this show that I've got to do tonight, and that we end up on the plane next to each other. And,
yeah, it's cool, man.
Yeah, it was really cool. And the only other time that we really met was when you came on the Marriage Ref, which I have to say, for the comedians who were on the writing staff and Jerry, who was producing it, who was like, we've got to get him on TV. We've got to get him on our thing. And you were so great on the show, and it's really cool that you bring me into the house and sit in my lap like this.
Last time I did anything like this was with Santa when I was like 9. But I like your interviewing technique. It relaxes me.
Yeah, you seem to be. You can get your head off my shoulder now. All right, thanks a lot. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
man.
Bye, Brian.
Balls.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, but I remember we just really laughed like hell at Jerry Seinfeld, and we were amazed that he wasn't famous.
Right.
But this was before he had even done the Tonight Show. This was back in 1981 or 82.
Oh my God! So he hadn't even been on the Tonight Show.
No, and it was soon after that he just exploded.
Right.
So
wow. And how long did you stay in Miami doing comedy?
I ended up, well, Dennis decided he didn't want to do it after that audition. He said, I need this like I need a hole in the head.
So when are we going back? I think I'm good.
Yeah, he's like, you're going to want to do that every night? Like, I was like, yeah, didn't you love that?
No, I'm gonna go with the firemen.
Yeah, I didn't care for that at all. Well, how about 3 firemen and 1 comedian?
That's hilarious.
So I ended up continuing to audition, and
right.
I ended up passing my audition there, and then I got a job there.
I like how the comedy team breaks up after one act.
Yeah,
we're a team. You're on your own.
We're a team for 5 minutes. Yeah,
that's gonna be a short part of the documentary. They started out as the Regan brothers.
And after 5 minutes of working together, it was too... Well, first of all, I want to say this is an unusual interviewing technique. Do you always have your guests sit on your lap?
Well, I feel we bonded so much on the plane.
I mean, I don't have a problem with it. It's just I've never done it. This is a first for me.
Well, I just feel it opens things up.
Okay, very good.
What those things are?
We'll see. We'll find out very shortly. Yeah.
Thanks for having me in your home.
Absolutely.
You live in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
You've been in Las Vegas a long time.
I've been out here about 7 or 8 years. I lived in L.A. prior to this.
Okay.
New York prior to that.
Right.
Ohio prior to that.
Ohio?
I went to college in Ohio.
Oh.
And then Miami prior to that.
Actually, in Miami? Is that where you grew up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My mom and dad went down there for their honeymoon from Pennsylvania and New York.
Right.
They got married up there. They went down to Miami, liked it, and decided to have a bunch of kids and raise us all down there.
It's a bunch of kids.
8. My mom and dad have 8 children.
Oh my Lord. Where do you fit in that?
I'm the smartest. I didn't fit. They put me... I had to sleep in a tent out back. The other 7 all had their own rooms. Oddly enough, you would think
really?
with my mom and dad had a bedroom,
right.
and then there were 7 other at the comic strip in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
A couple of times.
Right.
And then he knew I was interested in this. He and I actually auditioned as a comedy team.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What did you call yourselves?
We were the Regan brothers.
Oh, very clever.
It took us a long time to come up with that. And you're not going to believe who we followed. At the comic strip in Fort Lauderdale, they would bring professional comedians down from mostly New York, but they would bring them in from L.A. as well. And they would do their time. And then in between, they would slip auditioners.
Right.
We followed a comedian we had never heard of before. We laughed out of control for an hour. Jerry Seinfeld.
No.
Yes.
Really?
Jerry Seinfeld
did a whole set.
Did a full set. He did like 45 minutes.
Right.
And we had to follow Jerry Seinfeld. I mean, the intro might as well have been, now that you've been entertained beyond belief.
Right.
Are you ready for 2 people that belong nowhere near a stage?
And now 2 guys who know absolutely nothing.
We were horrible. We were like, just fish flapping around, in a boat after being caught.
Imitating Seinfeld.
Yeah.
That sock thing was funny.
What else did he say? Cotton balls. Dennis, say something about cotton bedrooms.
Right.
You would think I could at least bunk with somebody.
Nobody would let you.
No, I slept in a tent in the back. See, that's where your parents should step in at that point and But
I'm surprised you couldn't get a meeting with them.
It was very unusual.
So when you lived in the tent for all that time, did you have to hunt for your own food?
Yeah, foraging is what I called it.
Right. In Miami.
Yeah, I learned the word forage before I learned the word mama or dada. They were like, "You're going to have to forage," and I'm like, "Gosh, I'm an infant," No, what's weird? To answer the question, I'm 4th out of the 8.
Oh, you're smack in the middle.
Yeah, and of the 8, we've all paired off in careers. There are 2 comedians.
Right.
Of course, you know my brother Dennis.
Yeah.
There are 2 firefighters. There are 2 school teachers.
Really?
And there are 2 salesmen.
How bizarre.
Yeah.
That's really weird. It just felt like teamwork.
Yeah, we learned that concept really well.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I wash dishes with him. I've got to follow him into comedy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And you started comedy before your brother? Or you started first? Who's older?
Dennis is older by a couple of years, and I was the first one that kind of thought about doing it, and I auditioned.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Come to Papa. I am Tom Papa, and I am talking to you today from Las Vegas. I flew here yesterday, and by complete chance, I boarded the plane in Miami, stored my bag in the overhead, sit down, and next to me is the one and only Brian Regan. Our plane was delayed due to a broken wing, and it was delayed for 2 hours, and we just yapped for 2 hours straight. Everyone else was really pissed off, but we were just laughing and having the best time. And in that time, I was able to swindle an invitation to Brian's home for this interview. Brian is simply one of the funniest comedians on the planet. I am a huge fan of his, because every time I watch him, I just fall out laughing. And that's the experience that everybody has with Brian. You just laugh. And that's the whole key to comedy. There's really nothing more to it. Now, Mr. Brian Regan, you came home last night. You had a tour of a little swing in the Northeast. You did several theaters. Then you went to your high school down the Miami area, where they inducted you into the Hall of Fame. And I know that you're happy to be home and see your kids and be back and unpack the bags. But how much happier are you that at 8:30 in the morning I am on your couch?